What do people who are bad at taking tests do when they do bad on the ACT?
I think I'm fighting a war that will never end.
The ACT sucks. It's stressful, overwhelming, and you probably agree with me on this. But it doesn't have to be that way. And I've realized that when I joined 5 Academy. But we'll get to that a bit later. My name's Calvin, I'm a high school senior, and I took my ACT from a 30 to a 35 in just 50 days. Here's how it happened. I took my first ACT in April. Honestly, I didn't have any clue what it was about until maybe 2 weeks before test day. That's when I started watching random videos, doing practice problems, and thinking, I'll be fine, I'll get a good score. I wasn't fine. When test day came, I was completely unprepared. I didn't have timing strategies, I didn't understand the pacing, and even though I didn't study well, I walked out with complete false hope. For the next couple weeks, I didn't even study. I had a job, I was in track, and I wanted to break, so I told myself I'll just wait until I get my score before I decide what to do next. I was constantly checking the ACT website for my score, and it finally came in, but it was underwhelming. I got a 30. Now, a 30 isn't bad for a lot of people, but for me, I have certain dream schools, scholarships, and goals that all require me to have a higher ACT score. That score is a wake-up call. I realized I couldn't just wing it and hope for the best. If I wanted more, I'd have to change the way I approach a test completely. So after that 30 in April, I signed up for the June ACT, and I told myself, all right, I'm really gonna lock in this time. The problem was that I only had 3 weeks until test day. 3 weeks to figure it all out, and I still had work and I was starting football. I did what everybody else would do. I typed in how to study for the ACT, and I did some random practice problems. I thought I was getting somewhere, but 2 days later I was like, bro, come on. This can't be helping me. I don't know what I'm doing. Then in late May, I was scrolling YouTube and I found 5 Academy. At first I was just like, this is just another prep channel, prep course, whatever. But after about 5 minutes of looking into them, I was like, wait, this is different. They had actual timing strategies, they told you what to work on and when, and the way they explained stuff just clicked. First thing they had me do was a placement test. I got a 28. It felt like a punch in the face. I didn't even maintain my score, I regressed. I was like, dang, maybe I'm not as ready as I thought. But it made me buy in even more. I knew that if I followed their plan exactly, I would be seeing success very soon. So that's what I did. Not skipping around and guessing, I listened to what they told me to do. And instantly, I felt way more confident about where I was headed. My routine was simple but locked in. Every day I went on 5 Academy subject mastery and grinded English and math. I watched the strategy videos for reading and science. I also started taking 5 Academy's practice tests. Using 5 Academy's timing strategies was a game changer. For the first time, I wasn't constantly panicking about the clock. English immediately improved from a 30 to a 35. Science was getting easier. Reading was getting easier. In math, my toughest subject, was getting easier too. I wasn't perfect, but every practice test I took, I was improving. These small wins gave me the motivation to push through the days where I had work, football, and ACT studying. It wasn't all sunshine though. There were days where I would completely underperform, and it messes with your head. But what kept me in was that I reminded myself that the real test is what mattered. Test morning felt way different from April. I actually had a game plan this time. I knew my timing marks, I knew what I was looking for in each section, and I didn't have that constant panic about the clock. The test still had a few tough moments. Math was a big curveball, but I still walked out of the test center feeling pretty confident. After the June ACT, I took about a week and a half off. I did this because I wanted to wait to see my scores to decide if I was going to keep going, and it was nice to breathe and focus on football and work. When the score came in, it was a 33. I wasn't very happy. I was one sub-score point away from a 34. That really bugged me. I knew I could get there if I locked in. So I signed up for July and I knew it was crunch time. I had just over 2 weeks until the test. So I created a routine. One day I'd take a full practice test, the next I'd review it. I ended up taking about 8 practice tests in that 2 weeks before the test. I kept everything under strict conditions, just like test day, because I didn't want any surprises when I got there. The reviews weren't quick either. I went through every question I missed and I decided why I got it wrong, what kind of question it was, and how I could get it right next time. I had a fire under me for those 2 weeks. Balancing that with football and my work wasn't going to be easy, but I knew that if I wanted a higher score, it would have to be done. I walked into the test center calm and collected. I wasn't scared of the ACT anymore. I actually thought the ACT should be scared of me. I walked out of the test center with swagger. I knew I did everything I could. 10 days later, I'm finishing up football practice and I get a text. ACT scores are out. Still in my pads, I check my score. 35 Superscore, 34 composite. I went 40 for 40 in reading, I got a 36 in English, and I did alright in science and math. My composite was a 34.25. Again, I was one question away from getting a 35 composite. I'm not gonna lie, I was pressed. That close and it slipped right through my fingers. But hey, I went from a 30 to a 35 in 50 days. I was pretty proud of myself. And here's the thing, I didn't figure this all out on my own. 5 Academy gave me the structure, the timing strategies, and the day-to-day plan to turn all that into results. Without that, I'd probably still be wondering why my score wasn't moving. And now, I've got the September test marked on my calendar. I'm going for that perfect 36 super score. If you want to see insane results like I did, subscribe and join 5 Academy.